Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. In Lu Zhou's courtyard in the Thousand Willow Monastery. Lu Zhou was cultivating. At this moment, Xia Chengqiu's voice rang from outside. Senior Lu, the Ninth Temple's temple master Xikong, has replied. He says that he'll visit another day. I see. Lu Zhou's reply was curt. Xia Chengqiu was thoroughly impressed. In his opinion, Lu Zhou was the only person who dared to treat Xikong Baichen in such a manner. With someone like Lu Zhou looking out for the Thousand Willow Monastery, who would dare challenge the monastery? Senior Lu, the Flying Star House's Yizhen, has gone to the Ninth Temple as well. I think he must have gone there prepared. Are you really not going? Xia Chengqiu asked. After all, Lu Zhou had reached an agreement to work with the Ninth Temple. Would they still be allies if Lu Zhou did not go? If Xikong Baichen can't even deal with the Flying Star House, he's not worthy to be mentioned in the same breath as me, Lu Zhou replied in his usual indifferent tone. Xia Chengqiu nodded. Understood. When Xia Chengqiu left the courtyard, the disciples from the Thousand Willow Monastery sighed. An elder walked over and said, "Monastery master, let me send the flying letter." As the monastery master, you're... Nonsense. Xia Chengqiu immediately cut him short. Do you think it's as trivial as sending a flying letter? This concerns the survival of the Thousand Willow Monastery. We can't be careless about this. Who do you think Senior Lu is sending the letter to? If something were to happen to the flying letter, can you bear the consequences? The others had no retort. Xia Chengqiu returned with his hands on his back. In Lu Zhou's room. Lu Zhou folded his palms and closed his eyes. At the same time, he was thinking of ways to retrieve his memory crystal from the Flying Star House. Should I go to the Ninth Temple again and take down Yizhen or Qintiandu? Indeed, this is a great opportunity. Lu Zhou slowly rose to his feet, preparing to head to the Ninth Temple. At this moment, Xia Chengqiu hurried back into the courtyard, clearly flustered. He bowed and said, "Senior Lu, this is bad." What is it? Why are you making such a fuss? Lu Zhou was puzzled. Meng Changdong is leading 1,000 cultivators toward the Thousand Willow Mountain. They'll arrive in 4 hours. Xia Chengqiu did all he could to survive over the years. It was only natural that such ostentatious movements from a huge group of cultivators did not escape his notice. Lu Zhou frowned slightly. It seems like I've underestimated the Flying Star House. Are they going to attack on both fronts? Are they bullying me because I can't split myself into two? Xikong Baichen was at the Ninth Temple, and he had his 5 first seats. On top of that, the Ninth Temple was protected by powerful formations. There should not be much of a problem there. On the other hand, the Thousand Willow Monastery's situation was on the other end of the spectrum. Clearly, the Flying Star House was trying to pressure both parties at the same time, or they came to annihilate the Thousand Willow Monastery. Yizhen is truly something. Senior Lu, what do we do now? There's no need to worry. Just leave this to my 2 disciples, Lu Zhou said. As you command, Senior Lu. Xia Chengqiu turned around and left. Lu Zhou sat with his legs crossed. He thought to himself with barely any changes in his expression, in that case, let's face them head on. The Ninth Temple. The red bird pulled the chariot to a stop in front of the Ninth Temple. After projecting his voice twice, Yizhen turned around and bowed at the chariot when nobody came to greet him. As I expect, none of the 5 can be relied on. An old and deep voice rang from the chariot. Call out again. Understood. Yizhen turned around and faced the Ninth Temple. He said loudly, the Flying Star House's Yizhen requests an audience with Senior Xikong. His voice was thunderously loud, it was much louder than before. The Taoist veins above the Ninth Temple began to thrum. Eventually, Yao Qingchuan appeared at the entrance of the Ninth Temple. He glared at Yizhen before he said, Yizhen, do you think the Ninth Temple is a place where you can act as you please? Yizhen cupped his fists. Kindly forgive our intrusion. Nobody knew what Yizhen was thinking about. Yao Qingchuan was currently the leader of the first seats. When he saw Yizhen, he was shocked. He would rather have a verbal quarrel since it would help him learn about Yizhen's character. However, it seemed like Yizhen was rather flexible. This meant Yizhen would not be easy to deal with. The temple master extends his invitation. They had made a promise 3 days ago, so Yao Qingchuan could not keep them waiting for too long. An old man dressed in white robes with his face hidden flew out of the chariot. He did not even deign to look at Yao Qingchuan. He entered the 9th temple at lightning speed. All the disciples on the ground looked up. This was Flying Star House's master, Chen Tiandu. Shortly after, Chen Tiandu and Yizhen landed in front of the holy palace. 2 female attendants at the side bowed. Chen Tiandu walked into the hall. Swoosh. A cup of wine flew toward Chen Tiandu. Allow me. Yizhen stepped forward and raised his hand. His slender fingers were like a palm leaf fan as he pushed them forward. The cup of wine froze in the air. Splash. Wine spilled from the cup. The droplets instantly solidified into nails that shot forward. Swoosh. 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 The nails seemed to strike an invisible wall before they evaporated into thin air. Are you the Flying Star House's Yizhen? The one whom people say is a great talent in recent years? The voice was stable and imposing. Yizhen bowed. Greetings, Senior Sikong. Swoosh. 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 The nails appeared and spun around to face Yizhen before they shot out. Yizhen was slightly annoyed. He was about to raise his hand when Chen Tiandu said tonelessly, enough. A warm and moist wave of air rolled out and caused the nails to evaporate. You old geezer. Your cultivation base has improved again after all these years. Chen Tiandu sauntered in. There was a table, 2 rush cushions, and 4 female attendants. It was simple and elegant. Sikong Beichen sat cross-legged on the other side of the table. He made an inviting gesture. Chen Tiandu faded out of focus and appeared opposite Sikong Beichen. He raised his arms, and his white cloak slid off. When Yizhen saw this, he hastily stepped forward and picked it up. Both Sikong Beichen and Chen Tiandu had white hair and wizened faces. Chen Tiandu raised the teacup and took a sip. He looked up and said, I heard you killed Chen Beijing. How could I not visit after hearing that? Sikong Beichen was not surprised by this. Instead, he smiled and shook his head lightly. You flatter me. Oh. Chen Beijing is only 1,000 years old. Both of us are in our old age now, how could I have killed him? Sikong Beichen said. Chen Tiandu's eyes gleamed. He said, why are you in such a hurry to shirk off the responsibilities? Are you worried that I'll hold you accountable for that? Sikong Beichen shook his head and said, Chen Tiandu, if I truly killed him, I would be happy that you came all the way here to throw your life away. Yizhen took a step forward. Chen Tiandu raised a hand. At this moment, the 5 first seats appeared at the door. If Sikong Beichen gave the order, a huge battle would commence immediately. The atmosphere grew tense. Yizhen smiled and said, since the housemaster is here, it's only natural that we're well prepared. Sikong Beichen only glanced at Yizhen before he returned his attention to Chen Tiandu. Chen Tiandu smiled and calmly asked, if you didn't kill Chen Beijing, who did? Sikong Beichen had been waiting for this question. He feigned an extremely obvious expression of fear and respect as he said, it's a senior with the surname Liu. Liu? Chen Tiandu and Yizhen searched their brains for a cultivator with the surname Liu but did not find anything. Among the elites they knew, there was no one with the surname Liu. Then, Sikong Beichen continued to say, shocking the duo from the Flying Star House, Senior Liu has initiated his birth chart. Chen Tiandu had made all necessary preparations. His trusted subordinate, Yizhen, had already planned it all. When he heard the words the birth chart, his expression grew stiff. He was perplexed and skeptical. We've fought for many years, you and I, and yet, I've never seen you lie like this, Sikong Beichen. I don't have the time to entertain you and your delusions. Chen Tiandu took a sip from his teacup. Sikong Beichen said indifferently, it's just as you said. We've known each other for many years now, and I have never lied. In that case, what makes you think that I'm lying to you now? Chen Tiandu was slightly taken aback. Yi Zhen spoke up at this moment. If I may? Let's hear it. Do we have any witnesses who have seen this senior Lu who has initiated his birth chart? Yi Zhen asked. My disciples can bear witness to that. The 4 first seats bowed in unison. There was no need for them to speak, their attitude made their answers very clear. Naturally, the 9th Temple's members would side with their own. Chen Tiandu raised his wizened hand and placed it on the table. Whiz. Primal chi surged, and the teacup rose slowly into the air. We both know how difficult it is to initiate the birth chart. Why must you deceive others and yourself? Chen Tiandu's cup flew towards Sikong Beichen. Sikong Beichen placed his hand on the table as well. You can choose not to believe me, Chen Tiandu. If the goal of your visit today is to verify this, I'm afraid it will be meaningless. The teacup flew back to Chen Tiandu. It stopped half an inch away from his nose. Chen Tiandu widened his eyes. The buzzing noise from the vibration grew stronger. Let's say you're telling the truth. Even then, there's no doubt the 9th Temple isn't blameless in regard to Qin Beijing's death. The tea inside the cup spilled out and solidified into needles. They were as fine as miniature energy swords. Yi Zhen was slightly shocked. However, he quickly focused his attention. A talented genius cultivator did not need his teacher to teach him. All he needed to do was observe to understand. The hair-like needles were now in front of Sikong Beichen. He frowned as he spread his fingers apart before putting his hands on the table again. For every grievance, someone is responsible, for every debt, there is a debtor. If you intend to search for the culprit, you can look for Senior Lu. Why is the Flying Star House so obsessed about this matter when the palace has not even said anything? Bam! The needles turned into droplets of water again and fell from the air. When they were about to land on the table, they solidified again. Chen Tiandu's expression remained unchanged. He spread his fingers and placed them firmly on the table. This is how the Flying Star House has always done things. Since the culprit is another person, the 9th Temple should be the one to bring him to us. Primal chi surged above the holy palace. A surge of red energy traveled back and forth in the sky. Soon enough, primal chi was turned into energy swords. Sikong Beichen exerted some force in his 4 fingers. Above the holy palace, energy swords collided. Bam! 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 The 9th Temple isn't capable of dealing with someone like Senior Lu. If you're so anxious, why don't you head to the 1,000 Willow Monastery to capture him? Sikong Beichen asked. The needles in the air moved forward seeming as though they would impale Chen Tiandu's hand. Bam! 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 The clashing energy swords in the sky seemed to be evenly matched. They formed formations as they continued to clash. It looked as though there was a firework display in the sky at this moment. More than 10,000 disciples from the 9th Temple were gathered. It was not a minor force. They looked at the sky. Chen Tiandu sensed the presence of the large group of cultivators. He pressed his fingers down with so much force that his hand sank into the wooden table, leaving a palm-shaped dent behind. Sikong Beichen, I'm afraid that your plan will fail. Elder Meng has already gone to the 1,000 Willow Monastery. In less than 2 hours, there will be nothing left of the 1,000 Willow Monastery. The needles were now aimed at Sikong Beichen's hands. Sikong Beichen pressed his fingers into the table as well as he said with a mocking smile on his face, trying to kill Senior Lu? Chen Tiandu frowned slightly. Why are you smiling? I'm amused that the Grand Flying Star House's master would do something so foolish. You've lived in seclusion for far too long. Why don't we have a wager? Sikong Beichen seemed excited. He seemed energetic for someone his age. Was he having his dying flash? On what? Chen Tiandu said. On whether Meng Changdong will be able to return alive, Sikong Beichen said. Yi Jin cupped his fists. I'm afraid that you'll be disappointed. Elder Meng is accompanied by Xie Xian, an elite from the 12 sects of Cloud Mountain, and the disciples of the Sky Marshal Court and the Flying Star House. There are 1,000 cultivators in total. I'm sorry, Senior Sikong. The Thousand Willow Monastery has killed our disciples far too many times. It's time to put an end to this. Whiz. Bam. 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 The energy swords in the skies grew in numbers by the minute. At the same time, their altitude seemed to have gotten much lower as well. If they were lower any further, they would slice the top of the holy palace off. You will pay for your foolishness then. Sikong Beichen pressed his hand down again. He made a palm seal with his right hand before he retracted it. Chen Tiandu did the same. I agree with the wager. The loser has to destroy his cultivation base. Sure. Sikong Beichen was invigorated upon hearing Chen Tiandu's words. When they both retracted their palms, the energy swords to the left above the holy palace faded away. However, those on the right grew stronger. The needles that hovered above the table suddenly shot forward. Chen Tiandu frowned. He said hoarsely, impossible. When he raised his hand again, it was already too late. The nails stabbed his chest. As soon as Chen Tiandu's energy burst forth, Sikong Beichen released a blast of energy as well. Bam. Chen Tiandu recoiled, but he maintained his posture of sitting cross-legged. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Before gravity could bring the blood to the ground, the blood seemed to freeze in the air. At this moment, Yi Jin's palm flashed red as he circulated his blood essence and struck forward. The 4 first seats of 9th Temple exclaimed in shock, Temple Master. They acted once. When Chen Tiandu landed, he slammed his palms on the floor. He pulled the 4 first seats back with his energy. Yi Jin was like a wolf or a tiger as he pounced with arms outstretched. Sikong Beichen looked up calmly. What an impudent 9-leaf cultivator. Dozens of feet behind Yi Jin, energy shots toward him. Yi Jin smiled. Go. His palms ignited. The blood essence spat out by Chen Tiandu formed a fireball with the karmic fire and shot forth. Bam. The fireball hit Sikong Beichen's chest. He slid backward before he slammed against the wall with his rush cushion. He spat out blood as well. Yi Jin landed with a smile and said, Senior Sikong, your skillful sword path is truly shocking. Sikong Beichen stared at Yi Jin. Is this your flawless plan? The housemaster and I are merely protecting ourselves. Yi Jin cupped his fists. Sikong Beichen waved his hand as a signal for the 4 first seats to stand down. The 4 of them exchanged a look. They did not know what the temple master was planning. Chen Tiandu retracted his energy and brought his palm toward his dantian, gradually calming himself down. Sikong Beichen, I've underestimated you. I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it with my own eyes. You've found a new sword path. Chen Tiandu wiped away the blood from the edge of his lips. My understanding is only superficial. Compared to Senior Liu, I'm nothing. Using all creation as a sword, the swordless path. I can only manage the first part of it, Sikong Beichen said with a sigh. Upon hearing this, Chen Tiandu frowned. Yi Jin cupped his fists decisively and said, I apologize for our intrusion today. He returned to Chen Tiandu's side and helped him up before they flew out of the holy palace. Yao Qingchuan, Zhao Jianghe, Sun Wencheng, and Wang Yudao were about to give chase when they heard Sikong Beichen say, Don't go after a cornered enemy. Temple Master, why aren't we going after them? They're insufferable bullies. They're trampling all over us. Yao Qingchuan asked indignantly. Sikong Beichen said, Chen Tiandu seems well, but he has been grievously wounded by me. All the more reason we should seize this opportunity to chase after them and kill them. Yao Qingchuan was puzzled. Sikon Beichen looked outside. He coughed before solemnly said, Yizhen is cunning. After Yizhen flew away from the 9th temple with Chen Tiandu placed a hand on his chest as he asked, why didn't you kill him when you had the chance? I sense the presence of an elite. The two of them landed on the chariot. Yizhen waved his arm. The red bird adjusted its bearing. He looked down at the forest below. Head for the 1,000 Willow Monastery. Quickly. Tell Elder Mang to retreat as quickly as he can. Understood.